started. I guess we have a new planning commission representative, Jim Garlock. Hello, Jim. I guess we'll go to Captain Brown with the police update.
I didn't know, Jim, if you wanted to share anything. Welcome as a new member for this committee.
Just a little bit about myself. I'm worked for 38 years in pharmaceuticals, been in Fayetteville, obviously long, hard 74 to 80 to graduate, and then came back on my own free will in 94. So I've been here since 94 and really enjoying the town and the city and the people. So thanks for including me.
Great. Thanks. Okay, Captain Brown.
My turn. We started trail patrol last week after school was out, so we do have 2 full-time trail patrol officers that are either riding the electric bikes or probably today they were probably in a vehicle because of the rain, but the Polaris Ranger, the electric Polaris Ranger, and they're hitting the parks and the trails pretty hard. So anybody out there that sees any problems or needs any assistance in the trails or parks, we've got a couple officers out there riding. Gully Park Concert Series starts tomorrow. We've got Dixon Street bike units that are going to be assigned to that trail patrol may also show up there. Other than that, nothing's going on for us. So unless anybody's got any questions or any comments or from the police department. Guess not.
I don't have anything.
Something may come up later.
So we got a Matt for trails update.
Okay. Cruising right along here. I want to stop share. Screen share. This. Share. Okay, great. Okay, so here's our trail update. Here's our typical list as we go through each time, but Lake Fayetteville's all finished. Rupel Road Trail's where they're working right now. Anxiously going to be going to Mission Boulevard after that. And then these are some other projects that are kind of contractor ongoing. Midtown and Cultural Arts Corridor is pretty much completely finished too, so that's for the trail portion at least. And then 2023, here's a list of projects. So this is a map form of it. Lake Fayetteville finished. Started construction on this, what we call the Mission Razorback Construction Connector, and I can show you I'll show you some pictures here in a little bit. Construction's going well on that. This little piece of Chalaki is finished, and we recently put in some passive detection bollards. I'll show you some pictures of on that trail to help it be more safe at the crossings. And then this is the portion of Rupel Road that is under construction, this whole portion in green, which will complete, as you can see, all of this purple. I mean, it's going to be a long, nice connected trail. Here's the Hamstring Bridge that also connected up, and then the Clapper Creek Trail that is complete. So all of that finished.
Is that one?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You said they're jumping over on Mission as soon as they get done with Rubble?
Yep.
So we're going to start digging?
Oh, we still have to have our permit, but yeah, should be this fall sometime. Yeah.
Supposed to have that permit last week.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. Do you want to help us, Nathan, on the permit? Just kidding. It's in the works. Yeah, and then we have a little bit of right of way to do too. But should work out. Yeah.
Which permit is that? Is that
with the State Department of Transportation that owns the road?
Yeah.
So we have to have their permission to use it for the trail. It's not technically
Is that
ours.
green down there? Is that trail crossing right down near 18th Street?
Right here?
Right there where
18th is
okay.
right here.
I was driving down through there the other day, and I started coming around that corner, and the lights were flashing on the crossing right there.
Good.
RRF.
You got it. RRF.
Right? And it's really difficult to see going around that corner. I was coming around, it's the vegetation. I don't know if it's the right of way needs trimmed in there. I started to give you a call about it, but
okay.
I wasn't driving that fast, and those lights were flashing, and it kind of spooked me for a minute because you come around that corner and you see those lights, and so I looked and there wasn't anybody there. So I don't know if maybe somebody had already crossed and then gone on. past the
They trigger
vegetation,
automatically because they're passive detection bollards.
Yeah, I just thought if anybody was speeding down through there, I wasn't going very fast. And when
Yeah.
I came around there, those flashing beacons just kind of startled me for a second. And
Okay.
I didn't have a whole lot of time, so I didn't know if
To
there was
react.
more. I didn't know if there was more vegetation that could be pulled from there or if it was on private property. But I meant to send you an email, and I didn't do it.
18th
Yeah.
in that curve. We've trimmed it before.
Okay. I meant
Many
to
times.
send you an
It's just-
email, and I just forgot, and you just reminded me when you pulled that trail.
This spring too has just been insane about.
It was just a few days ago. So
I really appreciate that. That's an incredible addition to the trail. I mean, I ride that quite often. Matt, you and I have talked about that, and I'm glad to see that go up.
Yeah, John, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it really came out of our ride together, and really seeing that one, and also on up Beechwood is also in. So there are two on that loop now. And it kind of goes back to we're really trying to promote this loop is for all ages, all abilities, friendly for visitors and everything. So we want to make sure that those crossings are, well signaled. And so I think we're there. Yep. Thank you. Okay. This is the section of Rupel. There's a zoomed in piece of it. This was originally phased, but they're working all through here and all through along the whole thing. So this is starting at Starry Night. This was actually a pretty big hill here that they were able to cut through and keep the trail at ADA slope, so maximum 5%. This is wiggling through some trees. There's some really nice oak trees through there that we wanted to protect, and so we're kind of wiggling through there. And then this is that white fence that you see, and so you can see we're right up to it. They're supposed to be relocated later this week. Probably tomorrow we'll be starting on that. And then this is getting close to Best Friend. See, it's all based in, ready. This is Best Friend. This is going to have a raised colored concrete crossing there. And then you can see concrete in the distance, and they tied in the sidewalks up at Chantilly. So that's all coming together. So next, this is the Mission Razorback connector on street. Specifically, this portion along Trenton is well under construction. The majority of this project is going to be just symbols on the road for Rebecca and this part of Prospect, but then the work areas are this portion of Trenton, which is getting close to completion, and then they'll be starting on this portion by Wilson and Gregg intersection to build a facility from the Greenway up to the park, a trail. So you can see this is sounding near College Avenue. This is the existing trail we were able to tie in, bring it around, and heading toward Wilson Park there along Trenton. Also, we're able to really upgrade the drainage across here, and it was working really well today. I was out in the rain, it was raining today.
Yeah, Matt, how done is that right now as we speak, Trenton?
How wet is it?
Like how?
Done?
Yeah, right there. See, you're close.
This section, maybe 70% completion. 60, 70, something like that.
I think there's a race that runs down Trenton on Saturday.
Oh, on Saturday? Okay. Well, you should be able to just go in the road if you need to. And then we did our colored concrete at the driveways, so getting those tied in. And then you can see as we move down, this is where they're still cutting it out and putting in new base. And then that's the park right there. So the swimming pool's just beyond there. And so you see they're getting really close on their undercutting, and then they're coming right behind and pouring it. So Midtown, just wanted to share. We're still really a final design. We're trying to get our construction manager on board, and then we can start talking about getting it started, getting construction going on it. We talked about these earlier. This is Beechwood and 18th Street, or 18th Street, yeah. And this, you can see the passive detection bollards. So as soon as somebody walks by that beam, those are going to be activated 100% of the time. So it must have been that person was already down the trail, because they still flash for a while, and especially somebody that crosses quickly. But we'll look at that right away. And this is up by closer to MLK on Beechwood, and you kind of pop out between apartments here, and so it's kind of a difficult crossing. So we upgraded this as well with passive detection.
When did those go in?
They just went in this week, maybe.
Okay, maybe. I was gonna say I went through there like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and so you can, and then also just as a side note, we're gonna add 4 new light poles through here. This is a dark spot, just because the developers built some of the lighting, and then they just didn't do this particular portion, so we're coming back and adding it, and that's in the works too. Just more pictures of it. Oops. Yeah. Well, I guess next is gonna be sidewalks. So, any more questions on trail stuff? Let me see if we have any of our participants' questions.
I had one, Matt.
Okay, Mike.
I was just curious of that one. Is there a plan to put like stop signs in there? I just thought that was a little confusing when I was.
Let me look at that again.
Seemed like it was like effectively like an uncontrolled crossing at the moment, unless I was missing something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's fortunately not a ton of traffic on each one.
Yeah, I've never had an issue, but I just remember when I went through it the other day, I was like, I guess I don't have to stop.
And 18th has them, right? Oh, no. Unless it's back further, unless it's back a little bit further. But yeah, good comment. I'll look into that. I'll talk to Brad about that and see. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Well, next would be the sidewalks on their agenda. So, oh yeah, hi. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Williams, citizen.
Jeremy. Yeah, thanks for coming.
And just trying to get involved and advocate for this great trail system that we have. I had a question on the Rupel Road portion you were talking about. In the last picture you showed, you mentioned like a raised crossing. Does that mean almost like a speed bump in the road, so the trail will be flat as you go from sidewalk to sidewalk?
That's exactly
Awesome. That
Exactly.
I love those. And
Okay.
I'm excited
Thanks
to
for the
see
support. Yeah.
those come. Hopefully.
Yeah, we saw a lot of turning movements there at Best Friend when they're trying to get in there from turning on Rupel, and we did step it back too, which is really good to do.
Yeah.
So they have a little pocket, but also that'll help kind of slow down the traffic and
Good deal. Will that be something more consistently considered for future road crossings potentially, or?
Yeah, we do consider it
Yeah.
most times. It's like the Clapper Creek Trail. I don't know if you've seen that on Gene Solomon. We have one on Van Eyck. Those are some new ones that went in. Neil Koska has one at Azalea. So we just kind of see how much traffic there is and the site conditions and things like that. So it's just one of our tools in our toolbox that we can kind of step up the crosswalk to that
Yeah.
safety. It doesn't work on a major road as well. So I mean, we kind of, I guess we do have one on North Street, but that's only 3-inch raised. It's a smaller one. So you just kind of have to take all that into consideration.
No, that's cool.
So it's not always a one size fits all.
For sure.
Even that 3 inches on North Street is enough to slow down a car.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's been fine, I guess, but I don't know that we would put that.
I wouldn't want to go any higher than that.
Yeah.
But it is noticeable that you're going over something.
Yeah, and we have to take into account fire and response times and things like that too. So
One thing I just always notice is if I'm crossing a crossing, a zebra crossing even, and typically the car pulls, at a stop sign, the car pulls into that. And so,
yeah,
just thinking, and I'm not an expert, but just assuming that extra bump kind of gives them a little bit more of a buffer to realize they're about to just sit and hang out in the crossing walk. But
yeah, it'd be less desirable. But moving that back from the road too is really essential, kind of offset
yeah,
crosswalk, and so we've been trying to do that a lot on Rupel Road in the new parts down south. There's a lot of examples where we've moved it back to, so at least one car length is what the goal is. So that person trying to pull out, they're waiting there to pull out, so they're not sitting right on the trail.
yeah.
If we were right there, it'd be right, it'd just totally block it.
Or you can go
And then
behind them instead
Alternatively,
of in front of them.
if someone turning in left, they have a little pocket to react.
Yeah.
They made it in out of the traffic, and they can sit there if there's somebody in the trail crossing. So NACDO shows that it's a 50% reduction in crashes because just by backing it back one car length. So yeah, we're gonna keep trying to do that. Good comment. Okay.
It is. I do see a lot of cars pulling like well past the stop here line and into crosswalks and stuff like that. But,
Well, I mean, sometimes you've got to get out there to see.
yeah, right. No, right. That, but it's also like those stop there lines are where you need to stop,
Yeah.
especially going up here to
West
to
and Maple. Yeah.
Like you go past that, you can get smoked by a bus.
And they'll be real irritated at you. Yeah. People don't follow that one. I don't know. Okay, we ready to talk about
Anything else?
sidewalks?
All right, Terry, how are sidewalks looking?
This is just kind of a caption of what's on the plan this year, which ones are complete, what's ongoing. We've been doing ramps and church is still ongoing because we can't get poles out the sidewalk. Someday,
How's that? Is that going?
still
like,
waiting, I think, on AT&T.
AT&T? I mean, I don't know if you guys needed me to get involved there. Or
If you
I have
want
some
to push them,
contacts.
go for it.
Results. Okay.
Everything's off but them. And
Yeah.
we can't finish it until they do, so.
Okay.
Right
I'll
now we're on Dixon. I think you got some pictures of that.
I do. Ready?
It's kind of showing what it was like. We'd walk down there with park maintenance and us and trying to figure out a way to improve this. So we went through areas like this that are just getting run over and over. Decided to put concrete in there to fill them in, so at least we're not having to repair them constantly. And the brick just will not stay there. Some of these planter ones, you can see the brick coming out. Go ahead, Matt. And we just filling in some of those. Neater, it'll probably give some places that maybe scooters can get off the sidewalk. Just have a more area, might create some bench areas, some spots that are trash can, like that one's out there. But just trying to fill that in, do some repairs of those seat walls. Some of those have just continually get damaged. So where we can fix them, we are, and not. So go ahead. Just showing some of the tree issues like that down there. I think go ahead. There's some of the seat walls, some of the better ones. Skateboarders really like those too. That's been pretty detrimental on them over the years. Go ahead, there's one, this one just kind of up in front of Amelia's and Farrell's, where we're actually going to relocate trees and try and get this a little more suitable and widen that sidewalk. That's like the pinch point on the whole street, pretty much. So the guys are up there working on that. That'd probably about another 3 weeks before we get out of there, but it's going pretty good. We've gotten some complaints about leaving debris on the sidewalk, especially on spring and like locusts in school, but that's the 5G folks had been working down there. Yeah. They're just digging out. So if you see that, it's not us, and I think Chris has addressed it with his inspectors. So trying to keep that as clear as possible, but that's kind of what we're going on. We just keep it on plugging away.
This little corner by the liquor store is going to get improved there too.
Yeah, that'll up there around Locust will be getting worked on.
It's a little funky
If
now.
we can get the right of way.
We're having right
That's
away
right
issues.
away we gotta acquire.
Yeah, once we right away.
Yeah, the goal there in front of Amelia's is to basically remove everything that's in the existing sidewalk. So all those trees, lights, and everything will be removed and relocated out into these bump out areas. So that'll all be an unobstructed sidewalk.
So you're removing those parking spots, I guess?
Yeah, there are a couple spaces that will be lost there, yes.
That's pretty much all I've got.
I had just a comment, heard about some lights maybe out on Block Street between, I think, like Maxine and Atlas, that stretch there.
That we're out.
Some are dim and out and on the side of the road, streets. I don't know if anybody or somebody can look into those.
Terry, did you catch that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We run that on a regular schedule as they go out between runs.
Yeah.
Because that's my traffic folks doing that.
And there's a lot of work going on downtown, so.
Feel wiring or
potential for,
something.
yeah, wires damaged and things like that is pretty high, but yeah, we'll check it.
Any other questions or comments on some sidewalks?
May I ask? Those changes reminded me of during COVID when they did the like parking lot, seating areas and things. Is any of these changes gonna integrate any like long-term elements of that, or is that kind of it's over, COVID's over now, so that's like just the idea of like cafe style seating in those types of areas long-term?
Yeah, we did look into that, having modular seating areas. From the city perspective, I think we really need that to come from the restaurant perspectives, because they're gonna be the ones, managing it, really maintaining it for that matter. So, if one of the restaurants did, like Amelia's or something like that, want that, I think that, there's still a possibility.
Yeah, and
There's
that
a
parklet
permit
on the
program.
other side of the road that's a private installation, and they were approved to put that in, so we have a process if somebody wants to do that. Doesn't have to be, a built parklet like that, they can do sidewalk cafes through a approval process.
Okay.
So,
It's best if it's initiated from the business, because then they have sort of the ownership and the buy-in in it,
Yeah,
instead of the city just putting one in and say, here,
yeah,
use it.
definitely. Yeah, it just
Maybe.
seemed like there's a trend, with COVID kind of initiated, and there's a trend toward that as the infrastructure changes go into, oh wow, there's a big concrete pad here now. Maybe I can throw some tables and chairs.
Yeah, hopefully.
But
Be great. Okay, did I share? I did this right. All right, John. Okay, let me just try this one. Make sure I had it. Okay.
Okay, Dave.
Dane's turn.
I've just got a few items on the agenda. First is the update to the active transportation plan. The document is with our graphic designer right now. She's working on the layout and everything, but we did have an update to the goal after our last meeting following the conversations with David and others. We tried to make the data collection goal a little bit more broad and cover some things like surveys and incorporating different data sources into our action items for this goal. So goal number 3 is the only one that we're updating. We can have a VMT measure that we look at, but I think that we need to look at a broad range of measures, including trail counts, data from Strava Metro. Google has analytics now on transportation, and we can look at all those things, as well as surveying our residents to see how many more people are participating in active transportation and what the users' perception are, to hopefully help guide our infrastructure decisions and programs.
Yeah, so thinking at the goal level, we were just being so specific before. We kind of wanted to be a little more generalized so we could have some flexibility in what type of data we would be analyzing to measure that.
Right.
So I know we talked a lot about it, but we thought a lot about it too. Kind of where we came back to is a little more generalized, giving us the ability to do the right one.
Oops. Were there any questions or comments about the ATP? Don't have a ton to update just because we don't have the document ready to show yet.
Probably Lee's working on it. What do you
Yes.
think as far as, so something we talked about, maybe skipping the July meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Just, I'm gonna be gone, but you guys could meet without me, but, so maybe we try for the August meeting. I don't know. It might
Yeah, I'm very optimistic that we'll have a much more fleshed out, updated document by August. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look for that in August.
And
Okay.
we do have the some of the final proofs for the Loop branding project and Fayetteville Trails branding project. And these are the primary and alternate logos for Fayetteville Trails, which you guys have seen before. We did go with the updated icon for the South Loop. We got rid of the compass style marking because we did hear that was a little bit confusing as far as directional, like it was pointing, trying to be pointing people somewhere. So we wanted to go a totally different route and just went with some local wildlife for the icon. We feel like this was well received at parks and from the group here, and added some fun to the project. We also have updated maps, which are shown on the next slide. So this is the South Loop. So you can see sections of the Razorback Greenway and Chaluki and Town Branch trails, and just on a kind of a simplistic overview map. And this will go on the website. It could be in print version, and we're working on some language to go with each loop to help describe it and help people understand what they're in for when they go and ride or walk these routes. The Parkside Loop is...
Dane, I just had a thought on this. Do we have the mile, like how long it is on the map?
In the language we do, this is not to scale, and so I didn't really want to put a scale on the map.
No, I was just thinking if we said maybe South Loop and then 5 miles or whatever it is.
Yeah, that would be in the description, and immediately, like one of the first things that...
It's something you can catch real quick,
in the
because
first
that's what they'll be
sentence,
looking for.
Yeah, I don't need to be in there.
Okay.
Guys, I think that'd be really helpful, especially when you have a motorized vehicle like I do that has a battery. It only goes so far. I look at those things very carefully. I think other ADA people do too. How far can we go and then get back? So good idea.
So you know what you're getting into.
So this is the graphic for that's important for everyone, but especially if you're really limited on your mobility like that. So this is the Parkside Loop iconography and brand. This is what a sign or a ground marker would look like, more or less, on the right there, and the map is on the next slide. This is an 11-mile loop. The other loop is about 5. And so, like I said, it's not to scale. You might not necessarily know how far you're going just by looking at a map that's not to scale. So we kind of want to tell people how long it is, but it's a little tricky to show on the map. But this is, again, this kind of a simplified map. It's the same color palette that Archetype was working with. It shows the 4 parks on the route, as well as restaurants and public amenities like drinking fountains and restrooms. Okay.
And that's part of the description there.
Yeah, that's just a kind of a draft description language. These are just some mock-ups of water bottles, backpacks, stickers, other kind of promotional items that we could produce to give away or offer to Experience Fayetteville in their shop or different things like that.
So we gotta go with wildlife or the other, like future loops type stuff?
There's a scheme that we discussed as far as future naming of future loops. And I think with what I do like about having a nature icon and more of I guess a geographic name on both of those, that we would probably continue with those type of naming and use more nature icons. I think that kind of is a good balance and keeps us from getting too varied in the naming and the icons. That if we're sticking to nature icons and sticking to geographic names, I think that keeps it simple and keeps it coherent.
I mean, I've done most of the trail system city numerous times, especially through the middle. I can't remember the names of all the trails or which ones are which. So it's because
The squirrel trail.
makes it simple. The squirrel. I think it's
And for Kyber Creek, we could use a beaver.
Okay.
They're all out there.
Yeah.
I see foxes all the time in the morning that I'm out there.
Foxes, that'd be a good one.
A fox would be a good one.
The Parkside Loop won't really be complete until the Mission side path is done, but the South Loop is ready now, and so that'll be the first one that I would see us actually implementing the markings and the signage, and so that'll be a good trial run because it is the smaller one also.
This is Arnold here. Had a quick thought on the marking of the trail. Being a rider of the Greenway Trail, I've noticed several times at splits for other major branches off to Fayetteville local trails, it's sometimes difficult to know which way the Greenway travels and which way is the branch to say at South Fayetteville where you're going down past MLK and you're heading south. Which way would be MLK versus turning right and going behind MLK Drive itself? Have we thought about perhaps at those junctions having some on-trail painting of, if the Razorback Greenway is a red, painting a red stripe on the trail that just indicates that this is the Greenway going in this direction, but only at those questionable interchanges where there may be two trails that intersect? Because I think it is confusing, even for me, knowing the trail, particularly up in Johnson, where you split off and the Greenway turns a hard right. You don't always know if you should go left and head out towards the back road there, or swing right on the Greenway. That might be an easy way of trail finding or wayfinding for the trail riders.
Yeah, Arnold, that's really what we have in mind with this symbol, is to have we find that pavement markings are more visible to the users, is so that you would find these on the pavement as sort of like breadcrumbs, which way to go, to help really tell people which way to go or which way is the Greenway. As far as like changing the center line color, that's kind of standardized, and it's yellow because it's what the MUTCD standards say to do, and so we've kind of been weary about changing a center line, but we can certainly put these pavement markers, and that's part of this project, is to really kind of show people the way around the loop.
Most of those interchanges have the little signs.
And they have the signs.
They have the signs, but it may be as far as a pavement marked logo sign may not be even all the way down the Greenway. If that's something the entire council wanted to do, but to go in and backfill or backspot those at some point in time with, or here's that way the guy's looking on the ground. Here's your and it can just.
Which we actually have them on the Greenway. So they're those same areas that you were talking about. They are on there, but maybe
they are. But if you're traveling at 15 miles an hour and you're swinging around the corner saying, well, which way do I go? You don't have time to stop and look which way this little arrow on the sign is. If the road actually had a red, it doesn't have to be the center line on the edge or something. It just, you say, okay, I follow wherever there's a question, I follow some breadcrumb on the trail that leads up to it and past it for 5 feet in either direction would be an easy way of just being very clear, and then having the redundancy of the sign for people that are walking or going at a slower pace. It's just it's something simple that wouldn't be a large investment, but would be easier for someone who's traveling at trying to just get in a longer ride. It might be a efficient way of wayfinding.
Yeah, sure. And actually part of the Razorback Greenway branding refreshing that we're doing is going to involve changing those symbols that are out there on the pavement right now. Well, also because we changed the 0 point for the Razorback Greenway, so the mile's wrong on them because we moved it to Kessler. So those will all get redone, and so it's an opportunity to do that. So I'll share that with the committee, is that maybe they need to be a little bit bigger or more visible or something.
Since I run a lot more than I cycle, I'm going a lot slower than a lot of people, so I get stopped. I've been stopped routinely, or have come across people routinely at the top of the Locomotion Hill. Standing there looking at that sign, whether or not they need to go right or left to continue on the Greenway.
Okay.
And, like one way, it's either way is going to get you there. But it's a distance. So I think that is definitely a point of opportunity right there.
That's a good one.
That interchange. So.
I think sticking with the wildlife symbol, we could just put a dead armadillo if you've gone the wrong way. Like, where if you've gone the wrong way, you encounter a dead armadillo there in the middle of the road, and okay, I've gone the wrong way. Need to turn around.
Well, we do like for people to also explore our local trails. I don't know that we want to discourage people from getting off. Yeah.
We want them to get where they want to go.
Yeah, that would be a good way to communicate it.
Yeah.
Dude, isn't the speed limit on the trail 13?
50.
15? I thought it was 13.
No, 50.
My feet don't go that fast either way.
You're thinking kilometers.
They don't go that fast either.
Let's see. Do we have anything out there from our participants? Let me see. Okay. No hands raised. Okay. Great.
So, yeah, those are the updates for the Loop project. I think it came out really great. I think Archetype did a good job on all the graphics. So, want to go ahead and move on to Applebee.
Yeah, I guess. Everybody ready? Presentations right here. There's Applebee. Let me share it. Share.
So, Applebee Road runs east-west between College Avenue and the Razorback Greenway near Washington Regional Medical Center. And it is, segments of this road are asphalt, as some sections are concrete, but all the asphalt is going to be overlaid later this year. And it is a designated bike route. It does have bike lanes across the entire route. And so we wanted to really for this year for our main on-street bike project use that overlay as an opportunity to reallocate the space on the street, consolidate the 2 5-foot bike lanes that we have into a two-way facility, and make that protected for the section between College Avenue and Bishop, and then make the primary route onto Bishop and Bob Youngkin because it is a lower volume street that's really comfortable. It's just kind of like a shared street. And then this section that we're looking at right here is between the Razorback Greenway and Quail Creek. And with this section, it's downhill in the westbound lane. And so we are showing that as a Sharo just because you're really able to keep up with traffic going down that hill, that we don't want to put a fast moving bike in a bike lane. We'd rather have them edged out in the street, but there's also a good sidewalk if somebody's not comfortable with that, and then just put that extra space into a quality climbing lane for the eastbound traffic there that's shown. So
7 feet.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do a whole lot of good for the folks on the virtual call, but I did bring in some samples of some of the materials that we're considering for the protection in the buffer. So this is called a Quick Curb XLP, extra low profile. It's relatively flat, has reflectors on both ends. It has an optional space for a delineator post that can be anywhere between 24 to 40 inches tall. We don't typically like to do delineators because they seem to be targets for people that with vehicles that like to run over them for sport. They don't seem to last very long anywhere we've ever put them. So we want to try to minimize anything vertical for maintenance reasons and aesthetics. But we are considering something like this because it is very durable and visible in the plans we're showing. They come in white, yellow, or for bike facilities, a lot of times they do green. So we want to do green. If we are going to go with something like this, we're kind of evaluating the different treatments. And I have some examples of the rumble strip. This is just an extruded plastic rumble strip that glues down. This is what's on Rolling Hills Drive right now. and it's coupled with a reflector. This is certainly not going to stop a car, but it lets the driver know that they've entered into a space that they're not supposed to be in as soon as they enter into that buffered space for the bike facility. So just brought these examples for the folks here. And so that's an overview of the project. We are kind of limited in funding for this, but we do want, our goal is to make this street as close to an all ages and abilities bike route as possible with the resources and the space that we have available in the street. So, Matt, do you want to talk through any of the other design details?
We use those curb bumpers that you used to have on Rolling Hills.
I did not bring it. I did not bring a sample. I do have one back at my office, but I did not bring that sample. We don't like those.
This one, those are not popular.
That's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yes.
This is the unpopularness. So.
I did the rumble strips though. I was thinking about those as far as like the replacement period and lifespan of them, because it seems like after this icing and they came through and cleaned the street, they scraped. It seemed like most of those off. And
We're in the process of putting them back.
Okay.
Put some of the west end's been put back on the south side especially. We're just trying to work that in as quick as we can. We've got some, they're just wider spaced now, but they'll be back to 10 foot.
That's just going to be probably just ongoing natural replacement, I guess.
Yeah, well, and we will probably threaten the life of the next person that plows them all like that again. But yeah, we're aware of that and trying to minimize that in the future. Only experienced, no new people will be in a truck with a plow. But those, I mean, they're loud. If you get on those, you really notice you're on there. And other than that, they've stayed pretty good. Notice the ones we're putting in, because some of the old ones are still there. The new ones pop.
Okay.
Especially at night, because they're just so white and reflective. But
Yeah.
those should all be back in soon.
Okay.
And we've not really gotten any complaints from anybody that they feel way unsafe with at least every other one in.
No, have you guys? I mean, okay. So that we're right now kind of evaluating, I guess, between that or what's shown on here is those green. Those the issue with them mostly is that they're expensive. They're what, $80 a piece each one. So
These ones?
And what we realized in a little demo is that right now we're showing these at 25 feet spacing, and that's a bit too far is what we're finding. It's
You
almost
can
something where you can
drift
fall.
between them and not even realize you're in the lane where the rolling hills set up. You can't get over there without making a lot of noise.
Yeah. So we probably need to have about twice as many
Yeah.
as we're showing in these plans, and so that the budget will really be tough with if we
the budget will allow.
if we go with that many of the tough curbs.
And one of my guys I think we put 2 or 3 out by Bishop
Oh, you did?
on asphalt just to, well, he said he barely got up out there without getting hit, and they were hitting him while he had them laid out there before he could get them screwed down. But we put it down there mostly to let them get hit, because one of the big problems we had with those on rolling hills was the bolts would get worked loose, and once they work loose in that asphalt, you have to move them.
Yeah.
So we're trying to evaluate, do those get into that movement so we can tell, is it going to be a maintenance issue? Because the rolling hills things were gigantic. We were replacing and screwing them down weekly for the entire year. So anyway.
So I can kind of work our way down the route. Like Dane mentioned, turns on Bob Yonkin, which is a pretty nice street as far as comfortable. And so we would just kind of come to here and turn. You know, there would be a turning movement here, and that's where, to me, the more exciting part of this project is so it'd be mostly on street. What is that doing? Okay. And so here, that Bob Yonkin comes to Bishop Street, and then that's just going to be, it's low volume and slow speed, so just some Chero symbols. But then we get here to this part of Appleby, which everybody knows is where it's heavily driven, and we're looking at, currently there's 30 feet here to work with of road, and so like Dane mentioned, instead of having the bike lanes like we have now, 5 feet on each side, we're proposing to move them all to the south side, and it gives 8 feet of space and then a 2-foot buffer. And so our thinking is like, this is gonna be a lot more comfortable for people, even if you rode in the wrong lane of that. If you felt like you just wanted to be farther and no one was coming, then it doesn't, you could ride in this direction right here and be, 7 feet from a car.
And this is what we saw on our tour in Austin, on a very similar roads to Appleby. They would not have a 5-foot bike lane striped on one side. They would consolidate it into a 2-way facility and it was much, much more comfortable for everybody, and it was a lot better used than just that standard 5-foot lane.
Yeah, so that's what we expect will happen here, and it's an opportunity since it's getting repaved, to do this. I'll keep working down the plans, but basically it continues along, and then the green in the intersections, we're getting, I think this just scoots along and we're getting closer to Fiesta Square. This is where the curve kind of starts. This is the Fiesta Square parking lot there, which a lot of this is getting redone as a separate project. So we're gonna kind of end most of our work here at this driveway, and then currently this is kind of how you go through the Goodwill parking lot, and then another crosswalk here to line up.
And we did actually find that we could add a turn lane for the Fiesta Square driveway that is not currently there.
Oh, that'd be helpful.
Just for traffic flow.
Since the bike facility's out of there by that point.
Right.
And then again, that's an interim kind of a thing because it's going to get changed, but be good for now. Yeah. So, looks like David's raised his hand here. Good to entertain questions. Let me see. I need to go here. Attendees. Okay, David, you're on.
Hey guys, thanks. How's it going? Also, Jeremy, glad you could be part of the meeting where I know I and others are so thrilled you're here. We just need more people providing their experiences and thoughts and advocating for active transportation infrastructure. So glad you're here. Guys, I'm really excited about this project. Thrilled to see what you guys have. I mean, just from my personal, comfort level riding, I really enjoy vertical posts, but this is a 25-mile-an-hour street, right? I think it's appropriate, the level of separation that you guys have proposed. If I were to consider any vertical element at all, it might only be at some of these, maybe at this, I wish I could show my cursor, but basically when the cycle track approaches that first driveway of the Goodwill parking lot, basically the areas where a vehicle could shortcut a turn through the edge of a bike lane. You know what I mean? Maybe on like that last unit in the buffer, or the last 2 units on the buffer or something like that. But otherwise, I just wanted to say I'm excited about it and very appreciative of you guys for making the most of this overlay.
Do we have any other questions or comments on this? Do you need anything from us on this?
We don't need a motion or anything like that. I think that
This forward to Transportation Committee, or do you want to?
We could take the transportation committee, sure.
Seems like it might be appropriate. Okay. So do you guys want to motion to forward?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll make a motion to forward this to the Transportation Committee for, I guess, them.
I'll second.
Okay, Jeremy second. And then any feedback on the type of buffer that we're looking at?
We do have the buttons.
Probably gonna come down to cost.
The ceramic buttons is another. Another option that we've looked at was the ceramic buttons, so we might have to cost some, some things out, but those have held up fairly well on Applebee, different size ceramic buttons. So.
What's the cost for the Rolling Hills rumble strips versus, you said $80 per one for those things?
So I don't know off the top of my head the cost of the combo for those, but it would be less, but it wouldn't. Those aren't exactly cheap either. Terry, do you know?
Yeah, but
I think they're probably around
$8,
like probably
I would
$8
say
for the
20 or less.
the
somewhere around
reflectors
20.
and the. Okay.
I think those reflectors are a couple bucks, so I'd say somewhere around 20 versus 80.
Yeah.
And those big ones are gonna have to be at every 12.5 feet.
So we'll have to use more of the rumble strips, but they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So per linear foot.
They're probably a quarter of the cost.
Yeah, probably.
So we might have a lot more effective buffer just by having more of them, closer frequency, for the same price, so.
Yeah.
That's what we'll have to evaluate. Yeah, so that's maybe the direction we're going to. See what the budget will allow.
Well, we had a motion, a second, but no vote.
Yep, okay, we're ready to vote? All in favor? Okay,
Aye.
Can't see anybody.
great.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous, there you go.
Okay. Well, good. Stop share here.
When does the Fiesta Square portion start? It's a couple years out.
Yeah.
Asking me.
Well.
So basically, the design is pretty far along. Biggest thing right now is we're working with our biggest stakeholder, the owner of the shopping center. We're actually working on an appraisal right now to see what that value of the land is, and it'll be a negotiation process where we've been working with them pretty extensively on alignments, and the good thing is they're actually looking at some, how they can redevelop some of that and use some of the excess space that's out there. So I think we're gonna hopefully see some redevelopment out of that.
I see nothing but good things for Fiesta Square because of it,
Right.
so as a property.
So it'll become city property at that point, I guess?
Yeah, it'll become city, right?
That's what I was
The
kind of
right of
curious
way.
about. Yeah, right.
But it'll be, hopefully sometime later this year, early next year, we'll be getting it ready to start construction. So the other issue is just cost of everything, and trying to find bidders and the right time to bid things so that we can get a bid we can afford will be the next challenge once we get it ready.
I don't fault anybody for pushing anything if they can.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, feedback, input?
Something I guess that David was emailing and contacting us about was about the leading pedestrian intervals, that we've talked about. So we are evaluating that and looking into the best places, and where David's been so helpful and providing some data and everything, but that is something that's more, staff related.
Yeah, Dave was telling me about that.
Okay, so, we didn't really feel like that needs to be a recommendation to transportation committee or anything like that. It's kind of outside of the purview, so we just wanted to let you know that we are working on that, looking at it, and trying to figure out the best approach on it within staff level, so.
MLK and Razorback.
Yeah, MLK and Razorback. Yep. And we've looked at where the crashes are and things like that, so we'll continue to work on that. I didn't know, David, if you want to add anything on that, or?
Do you guys have a timeline on that?
Not really. We're trying to kind of develop a game plan on it though, and sort of a policy, I guess. Chris, do you want to expand on that any or?
Yeah, we have been discussing it in our staff meeting that we have where we talk about active transportation and trail issues. So there was some discussion last time. We had a priority list. I think we need to have one more meeting internally to get some things squared away. There's some questions still in my mind as far as what our technology can do, as far as our signal technology. So I'll make sure we fully understand what that can do and what the implications are of adding leading pedestrian intervals. I think the discussion about how long those need to be, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that the walking distance that people have to travel, it needs to be factored in, and so we're talking about that aspect as well. So just really trying to balance some of the concerns about the traffic congestion, and you do lose some time for vehicular travel, and so our operations guys who are trying to squeeze everything they possibly can out of our transportation system are concerned about those aspects, but we've got to balance that, and obviously safety is very important. So just trying to find the right balance and how we can make everything fit together. So
Yeah,
I guess to answer your question, we're going to meet again. I don't know when our next meeting is.
Week or two. I canceled it.
Oh, okay.
You're gone.
Okay, I'm out. So it'll probably be into the summer. We're not meeting if we don't meet with this ATAC committee in July, it'll be in August. I would like to think we would have a good game plan and a report that we can bring then.
Okay, hey, thanks for that update, Chris. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, maybe for those that aren't familiar, those leading pedestrian intervals, if the pedestrian interval is that duration during you get the walking sign, leading pedestrian interval means you get a head start. All the lights are red and the pedestrian gets a head start into the intersection. I mean, how many times have you maybe seen someone enter a crosswalk only for someone to come into a green light and without almost slowing down, just rip through a right turn without noticing that there's someone in the crosswalk? Leading pedestrian intervals have been proven to reduce collisions, and so that's something that we're really trying to pursue, especially because a lot of that equipment is already there. It just has some figuring out, some personnel. In terms of costs, it's relatively low. Federal Highway Administration used to estimate it to be $20 or $200 to implement. That has possibly changed, but relative to the projects that these guys are working on, it's a safety feature that really increases safety for pedestrians and people bicycling, and is relatively affordable. So it's kind of this low-hanging fruit that we really want to pursue, that we're really grateful the city of Fayetteville has implemented at Poplar and Gregg, but that we really want to see more of across the city. So very much looking forward to seeing the results from the next meeting you guys have, I guess possibly in August. Really want to see more of those get implemented.
Guys, this is Kay. I just wanted to say I did not know the wording to use yet because I'm still learning, but you have no idea how many times I've almost been hit going just for that exact reason in a wheelchair. People don't see you. I always try to stop and make eye contact, but I know a lot of my friends don't. So I think if that's a cost-effective way to do that, I'm all for it. In any of the major intersections that we can put it in, if it's software, let's go. Because you just don't want anyone hit. It's not just bicycles, it's kids, it's all of us. So thanks for bringing that up. That was excellent. I just didn't know the word for that.
To which I would like to add huzzah. I agree completely. The same for me as a runner and a pedestrian. Absolutely.
One more thing I'd like to add about it, the current install this is push button initiated, so it's not happening automatically. It's happening whenever someone pushes the button. When they wait for the cross the walking sign, then they get to enter. They get that. Right now, it's a 3-second lead into that intersection. If it's not used, it doesn't adversely affect traffic flow. If it is used, then there is that 3 to 7 second delay depending on the duration that's chosen. But if it is being used, that's exactly what we want. We want that reduction in probability of collision. So yeah, appreciate you guys looking at that.
Guys, another one that I thought of is Kay again, and I was still gathering this information from a lot of our ADA, community, because they're so diverse, so many things that, I'm having to learn about other people's disabilities. But another one is, when you push that button, sometimes it gives you you get a tone, you get something telling you that it's working. Sometimes I've gone up to intersections that we've had to fix, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting while this, you don't know that it's working because you did not hear a tone. Then you find out later that, after 2 or 3 cycles, you can't get through that intersection. So is there a way also to do that as a software addition, just kind of, work that in as well? Do you understand what I'm saying?
It's an audible signal.
Okay, are you talking about sometimes there's a voice box that will say like wait to cross College Avenue, or wait, or there's other ones that have a kind of a percussive sounds like a small jackhammer inside it.
It'll light up too, some of them.
Yeah.
Yes, because there's a lot of people I know, they're either hearing impaired or somewhat visually impaired. And they have mentioned that to me multiple times, that that's really helpful to have. And I find that too sometimes. At least that intersection is working for you. You're not just waiting, cycling through.
So
if that's an easy fix.
So what we do is that is a relatively significant cost for each intersection to add the audible. So what we do is, if we do get a request that somebody has a route, we usually just ask what that route is, and we'll try to incorporate that technology in. So if you have specifics, please pass them along, and we can look into that. It's just some additional equipment that they have to install, so we'd have to order it and then get it put in. I
understand.
Yeah, the MUTCD. If you look at that, that's the manual that we use for traffic control to make decisions about that. It talks about that installing those is typically based on request or known routes of visually impaired, et cetera. So if we know where those are, if we have specific requests, we can certainly take a look at it.
Okay, I can hone that down a little bit with different people and groups coming from places.
Yeah.
Also, is there someone that can send me information via email or anything so that I can learn about this and know the nomenclature a little bit better? Like, catch up with you guys have been doing this for a long time. I'm just like in first grade here.
Sure.
Or a link to something that would give me that at some point. You don't have to do it right this minute, but I'm just wondering if we could, and I'll try to study and learn what we can do and try to tailor that and filter some of these things that people want more realistically, so that we can figure out what I can be more helpful with that, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, okay, we'll get you something on that.
May I get copied on that also, please, Jim Garlock?
Sure.
Thank you.
I could send it to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Did you send
We just send it
what that thing Drew made?
Yes, I did send that Drew made just recently, Jim. You got that, and Kay, there's like a active transportation.
Did I get that?
I hope you did. Just a kind of a informational packet about the meetings. I mean, just about what active transportation committee you guys are.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get that? Yeah.
I did actually get that. I just haven't had a chance to look through that yet. I told you I had a few medical issues, but I definitely will if that's in there.
Okay.
Thank you
Just wanted to make
for
sure.
that. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, we'll put
I just have a further question. So so these are sort of opt-in systems where you have to press a button to, activate the system. Why is it in general? Like in general, it just seems so much better to have it sort of have a sensor, and when a person approaches the intersection, it just sort of reacts appropriately. I mean, from a public safety point of view, why is the onus on whoever it is? Just somebody could discuss that. And if it isn't, and perhaps the city could install those systems more widely, the one, automatic activated ones.
Yeah, so for signalized intersections, the auto recall, we don't have any of those. And actually, what ends up happening is that if we have auto recall, the level of service for pedestrians is actually worse, because if you walk up to a signal now and you push the button, a lot of times that can impact the signal. Basically, will cause the signal to change quicker and give you a walk signal quicker than you would otherwise. So those auto recall work really well in downtown areas where you have a grid system, and you can actually kind of time those, so as a pedestrian you can just walk and never be stopped. But with our system, we really feel like the best level of service for pedestrians, you have to push the button obviously, but the best level of service is if we do use the push button systems. So that's why we look at it that way.
Thank you.
If, there are some locations where if it's difficult to push buttons, if you can't get to the button for whatever reason, or if it's too far from the intersection, we can continue to work on those sorts of things. But typically there are standards for how far those have to be from the crosswalk.
I have a whole list of pet peeves of those. That's not really where I was going, but certainly can provide a list of irritants.
Yeah, and there probably are plenty of those that don't meet the current standards. The current standards, I don't know what the distance is, but it's not very far. So you'll see a lot of new signals that have auxiliary poles, where you have to have the push button much closer to the crosswalk than we have in other locations.
Thank you.
All right, well, if nothing else, I guess see everybody in August.
Okay.